Purdue High Point in the first round of the NCAA tournament. This is a game that should be highly entertaining because it's two offenses that are rolling right now. Although I guess Purdue fans might argue they haven't been rolling in recent weeks, but two offenses that stylistically, profile wise, should have a lot of success against two defenses with pretty major question marks right now. I think you'll see a lot of points scored in this game and just in general, a really visually appealing basketball game. For any Purdue fans watching this, High Point is a mid-major to watch. Coming into this tournament, before we knew the draw, many smart people had circled them as one of the better mid-majors with a chance to make a deep run in this tournament. They're the 84th best team per KenPom. They have won 14 consecutive games. That's the second longest win streak in the nation. They really rolled through the Big South tournament without any major issues. And their only top 100 opponent that they played this season, they beat. They beat North Texas by 5 back at the beginning of December. They also beat UAB. That's the second closest team to the top 100, 103rd best team in the country. So really, their two biggest games of the year, they passed with flying colors. Let's start with this, just previewing for, I think our Purdue audience is probably our largest audience here. What do Purdue fans need to know most importantly about this High Point team?
I think you got to look to what they can do, what they do offensively. Like you stated, this is a team that is 25th in offensive efficiency, and part of what they do really well is what Purdue doesn't do well on defense. Now, anytime you look at these like metrics with teams like High Point that play the level of competition that they have, you do take it with somewhat of a just a little bit of grain of salt, right? But we're looking at a High Point offense that ranks top 15 from 2 point range in offense. While Purdue, for the update people, where they currently ranked, Greg, and I'm not misspeaking here, 350th in the nation in 2 point defense. That is so beyond astronomically bad in 2 point defense wise that I can't even fathom looking at the number. It still shocks me. I still wonder if it's even correct. But a lot of what this High Point team does offensively really attacks what Purdue does bad defensively. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. The second thing that comes to mind, I don't want people to ignore this. As much as you look at High Point's offense, High Point's defense is nothing to write home about. And there is some things that Purdue's offense can take advantage of on that side of the ball as well. But I think you can't lie to yourself. It is a little bit jarring to see High Point and what they do well offensively and how it directly correlates with what Purdue does bad defensively.
Yeah, so that's it's why I'm most excited for this game is because it's going to come down to execution, I think. Because again, both teams I think offensively are going to feel like they can get whatever they want. And you mentioned it's hard to believe that Purdue number defensively, just to reiterate it, 350th 2 point percentage defense in the sport, giving up 56.4% to opposing teams inside the arc on field goal attempts. They had that month where it looked like they had solved it by playing this high pressure style and limiting shots at the rim. And then that wore the team down, I think. I think that contributed to how their guards have kind of run out of steam. And they just haven't solved it. Now that the tape is out on avoid turnovers against Purdue, they haven't really solved it in recent weeks. High Point, for what it's worth, a team that does not turn the ball over, 51st in the country offensively there. They are not just good inside the arc, they're great. They make 57% of their shots. That's 15th nationally in 2 point percentage offense. It's not just offense where I think they can cause some issues for Purdue. Cart, they're a great rebounding team. They rebound 34% of their misses. That's 60th nationally. We've seen Purdue struggle on the boards at times this year. So, look, High Point has as many defensive concerns as Purdue does in this game. The High Point defense is not good. 227th nationally. Normally, when you're looking for a mid-major you believe can make a run, you want a little bit of a baseline that's better than that. I don't
Mm.
believe this High Point team really will do much at all to disrupt this Purdue team. They don't force turnovers. This is not a game where Braden Smith's going to struggle. High Point likes to sit back and play some drop coverage, I hear. I think Braden Smith is probably going to be extremely comfortable in this game with a week to prep and a week of rest before it. So, look, easier said than done. When we get to the end of this and we're trying to talk ourselves into can High Point win this game potentially, let's not forget it still is going to have to come down to you have to execute better than Braden Smith does.
Mhm.
Braden Smith and TKR against a defense that doesn't force turnovers, that is okay as a rim protection, okay 2 point percentage defense, but they really won't do anything to make you uncomfortable. And if you as a team feel like you can out execute Braden Smith, Matt Painter, and Trey Kaufman Rent, the matchup tells us it's a good one. But when you say that out loud, it loses a lot of its luster for me, you know?
Yeah, and especially because I want to make something very, very clear. This is Braden Smith versus drop coverage, but also you're not putting everything into this. This is Braden Smith versus drop coverage after hearing about for 4 to 5 straight days how people are picking High Point to beat this Purdue team too. That actually factors into it for me because Braden struggled right in the Big Ten tournament mightily. Um, Now leading up into this game, there's going to be a lot of chatter about people picking High Point, right, and not believing in Purdue. Braden Smith is going to hear that noise. I know he is, and he's going to use it. And if I'm betting on a team or betting on a player to play against a team that plays drop coverage, Braden Smith is a player that I am picking to be the head of that because I think that he can be a mid-range killer and that gives him a chance to also get his own while also getting other people involved as well. Because I think that's when they work best when this big three is operating at a high level. And yeah, I just think that there is a clear path if they're going to play drop coverage with the 7-footer. I think his name is like Bodo. If I,
Jocelyn Bodo Bodo.
Bodo. Yeah.
Yeah, before we go any further, Jocelyn Bodo Bodo is their 7 foot sophomore center who will block like 3 shots in this game. Outside of him, they don't really have any rim protection. He only plays like half the game. It's very
20
rare that you
minutes.
see him for more than 20 minutes, but he's a guy that I think is going to need to play big minutes in this game. They also have Keza Giffa, point guard, number 1 from Paris. This team I always look for like the endearing mid-major fun shit names, all that. Keza Giffa and Jocelyn Bodo Bodo cart. Like this is the mid-major I want to fall in love with. It sucks that they're playing Purdue, but objectively they're gonna be able to exploit Purdue's defensive struggles, I think, and they've got the guys to do it. The other thing that is abundantly true with this team, talked about it on a couple other shows already. Normally, when you watch some of the Cinderella bid teams, they can feel like they're in over their heads, and that's what makes it special, right? This team of like underdogs that shouldn't be here all of a sudden hits it for one night. High Point feels like a high major team. You could drop this High Point team in the Big Ten, and I don't think it would feel all that different to watching like Nebraska play basketball this year. Not to compare styles or caliber or anything like that, but just the dudes on the floor. High Point has a bunch of dudes that played at the high major level. Demorian Williams was at Texas Tech for 2 years. Kamani Hamilton was at Mississippi State in his first year out of high school. Bobby Pettiford was a 5-star recruit that started at Kansas for 2 years. Like,
Is, Sorry, good points there. Is it fair to say stylistically Purdue and High Point are kind of similar though?
in
Like
what way? What do you mean?
really good offenses, defenses are questionable at points.
Yeah, just strengths. That they're both offensive minded basketball teams for sure.
Right. I'm working through things as we go through this. But yeah, I do think you make a great point. High Point is not going to be overwhelmed talent wise. They have talented basketball players.
It is just not a game you're going to flip on and eye test wise feel like, oh wow, CJ Cox is bigger, stronger, more athletic than these guys. Like
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
it's not like scrappy mid major. It's like that's a good ass basketball team.
Like High Points bigs are going to look more like high major starters than Caleb First is. I don't think that's crazy to say. Um, Now, again, Braden TKR got answers for you. They will shut
Mhm.
you up if you're really trying to talk yourself into High Point. But The strength of this High Point team is kind of like do it by committee. They're not superstar centric in a way that Purdue is. That can be a good or a bad thing for a Cinderella. To that point, three things. I'm putting this on some graphics we're making for every team. We're doing like March Madness for Dummies graphics we're going to drop later this week. I'm pretty excited about it. Um, High Point, 53rd nationally in bench minutes. They're extremely deep. 67th nationally in D1 experience. They're old. 49th nationally in continuity. They got guys that came back. They have all these vetty things that you look for that I think are going to play in as a strength because Purdue is pretty young. Purdue is not deep at all. They've got continuity, we know that. But like, do you think the depth will play a factor here with a High Point team that goes really, really deep?
Hmm. I think it would play more so of a factor if this was like playing Purdue off of like if they were playing Purdue, let's say the second game of the weekend, not with Purdue coming off the break. I think Purdue's actually gonna be pretty rested in this game.
I think so too. I'm not worried about legs for Purdue,
Are you
but
talking about like more so like the game just wearing them down?
um, I would make this comp. If something goes wrong for High Point's star, much like Michigan State does, I think they just turn to the next guy until they find something that works.
Mm,
If something goes wrong with Purdue's big two, there is no turning to the next guy. We know that. Colvin and Heidi have been better, but like to me, High Point is a team that in this game will probably be able to have a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Purdue has a plan A. Now the plan A should work stylistically, schematically. No reason to think the plan A won't work. But we have seen before. I'll compare it to this. Cover your ears, plug your ears, Purdue fans. It reminds me depth wise of what that Fairleigh Dickinson team was. And if you
mm,
watched that game, I remember very vividly feeling like there were just line changes happening where FDU would sub in four new guys and it would feel like this onslaught was still coming. And Purdue's looking at the same two guys to make plays as the game goes on and wears down and the moment becomes bigger and bigger. Like if High Point can score and they stay in this and they keep subbing guys in and out, I think we're going to see like how many times in the last month have we seen game pressure mileage wear on Braden Smith?
with heavily
A lot. It's been the
a
story of
lot.
the last month. And I think
Yeah,
High Point as a team with how deep they are is a team that can take advantage of that.
yeah. No, I think it's definitely fair to say. And the one thing I push back on there is I think that's more so to hurt Purdue later on if they get past this game.
You're right.
Yeah, but fair point though.
You're right. High Point in general, out of every team seeded 12 or higher in this tournament, where would you rank them in terms of most dangerous?
I would probably put them just straight up ranking the 12 seeds. Like
12 and
the
up.
12, oh, 12 and up.
You got like McNeese, UC San Diego, High Point, UNC Wilmington's good.
Yeah, I would have, I mean, they'd be behind, for me personally, they'd be behind McNeese, they'd be behind Wilmington, they'd be behind Colorado State. I would also put them behind, I'm a little bit lower on this high point team than other people. So I would say UC San Diego.
Yeah.
I would even take Yale as well.
Wow. Okay, so you're a lot lower, I think, on High Point than I am, at least.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. All right. That's totally fair. They're my second most dangerous mid-major. I think UC San Diego, who plays Michigan, is the scariest, and I think High Point's the second scariest. I had both these teams circled pre-tournament as like,
Harry the McNeese? You're a
yeah,
McNeese guy.
I like McNeese. I think High Point is scarier.
Okay.
Look, I had High Point and San Diego circled pre-tournament and said no matter who they play, I'm probably picking them.
Hmm.
And then they got matched up with two teams I love covering, Michigan and Purdue. So it's putting me to the test. But I think this should be a wildly entertaining game. You want to get to predictions, or you got anything else on this?
No, I think it's about time to get to prediction. Did it scare you at all? High Points run in the tournament. I know they I mean they obviously won it, but they did find themselves in some bad spots and had some big comebacks in that conference tournament.
I feel like they had one bad spot. It was just the Radford game.
Yeah, true, 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 true.
Down 7, came back,
Okay,
led by 10 with a minute left.
yeah, okay, yeah. No, I think that about.
Not
I
overly
think I
surprised.
covered everything I wanted to touch on.
Okay. All right. Last note from me. While I'm making this out to be like some nightmare draw for Purdue in the first game, I tweeted about this. If Purdue gets through this game, I love the round of 32 spot for Purdue because I don't think McNeese is as uniquely propositioned to cause issues for Purdue. And I would love Purdue against Clemson. I know you're a big Clemson guy, but if Purdue and Clemson are paired up in the round of 32, hammering Purdue to cover alt line, blowout Purdue win. In this game, I'm nervous. So I don't want to do what I'm about to do. Ken Palm has Purdue as a 9-point favorite in this game. What do you think happens?
Yeah, I think that if I'm gonna get a team that's gonna play drop coverage against Braden Smith, I don't think that he's gonna be missing the shots that he usually misses. I think he'll be a little bit refreshed coming to this game after their exit in the Big Ten tournament. Um, I'm gonna take Purdue to win, and I'm gonna take Purdue to cover too. I think Purdue is gonna win this game 85 to 72.
Okay, I can see it. I'm a lot less comfortable than I wanted to be in picking High Point because I have immense respect for Purdue. Maybe this is me doing a favor to a guy in Braden Smith who is as competitive as they come. But I genuinely do right now believe that High Point will win this basketball game. Can't even say it. Can't even stutter it out without tripping over myself. I just think they're really good. I think they're going to feast at the rim. I think their depth is going to cause huge issues for Purdue in the final 10 minutes of this game. And I think you're going to see game pressure mount on TKR and Braden. And if we're being honest, Cart, you step back in the big picture view. Hasn't the story of this Purdue season from start to finish basically just been their stars' composure?
Yeah,
And we've repeatedly talked about how it hasn't been good enough.
it has faltered in a lot of spots. That's one of the scariest propositions to me too. Uh, Sorry, I know we're at the prediction portion of this, but like at any moment, Mr. Kaufman Wren could have two fouls in this game and just cook himself on two moving screens. And then what? Like
Yep.
that's what scares me more than anything.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm doing it. And Purdue fans, I hope I reverse jinx you into a round of 32 date, but I got High Point winning this game. We'll see. We'll have a recap up of it later this week. Thank you for watching. Always, we appreciate it. Click subscribe while you're here and check out our other March Madness previews.